they tend to be doing the opposite, focusing more on extracurricular art classes, paddle, fun things. So look at the difference. Ebrahim, Johannesburg, you are deputy principal at Fordsburg Primary. Tell us a little bit about that. Your learners, the background, how different. Well, you thought in KZN, the differences.
Yeah, so there is quite a big difference, but I think from province to province it will differ. But it's also in what space are you, can I say, teaching or educating? Where is the teaching and learning taking place with regards to, in a more affluent area, or are you in a rural area? So being in Gauteng, in Fordsburg, in Johannesburg, it's a primary school. We quite a large inner city school with 1,317 kids. So that's from grade R to 7. Look, going back a bit to your topic with regards to winter schools, there's a huge drive with these study camps. I think each province goes about it their own way, but all in all, it's showing that there has been somewhat an upturn with regards to matriculants and their marks, etc. I wouldn't say it's across the board, but there was stats that were published, etc., that did show some positive feedback that gave, I think, DBE good feedback. But that's just my point of view is that being in grade 12, or some of the older folks say matric or standard 10, we now deal with grades. I think my personal opinion, there needs to be some sort of structure. Self-discipline is something that's quite important. I know every child is unique and different in their approach to learning, but it's a positive step, and it's good that a lot of the provinces in Gauteng as well, it's quite structured. Look, it does vary from school to school. But if you had to drive around even the northern or the southern suburbs in Johannesburg, you will notice there's quite a large influx of matriculants that are attending. And unlike KZN, Sister Sumaya and Veronika, we don't deal with the... can I say the posh weather of 12 and 20 degrees? We're dealing with 3 degrees and 5 degrees early in the morning. So a bit cold is a bit of an understatement, where you see sleet sometimes if your car's up in the open. So it's a sacrifice, but I believe it's a sacrifice that needs to be in place and somewhat structure. So we all know where we headed. I think province to province. I think Mr. Lusufi said it well previously as well.
The all MEC of...
Correct. And we all know, and we're keeping our ears on the ground, and we glued to our tellies with regards to the whole GNU and how's the negotiations going on with regards to all the political parties involved, and education as well. I was aware that there were quite a few messages that were hoax with regards to ministers that are floating, nationally floating around, and people were quite shocked. And I think that's just the hoax, just to put everyone at bay with that. But all in all, I think it's something that's positive. We had positive feedback. I'm happy to see that each province is going about it in their own way. I just want to touch very slightly on what Veronika mentioned earlier, is that not all major or well-known schools in the area here are implementing these study camps. I always say you got to look at the location of the school is very important. For example, if you were the MEC of education in the Eastern Cape, what will you do if you didn't have a school that was, can I say, pitching up to the party with regards to the study camps?
Boot camps. Now I believe there's a lot of boot camps, the MECs.
But I mean, it's also very, when we look at the previous stats we had with matriculants in 2023, certain provinces were slacking. I mean, now it's the year of GET. And that's going around nationally and in Gauteng as well. So it's all about GT, because what the findings and the stats that are coming back is that why are we sitting at a high school level and struggling with basics that's supposed to be covered and understood and easily implemented, or administered at a primary school level. So we get that as well, where the grade R and the double notes links into your whole school readiness into grade 1, but then your exit grades, etc., in 3 and grade 6 and etc. And then what happens is that certain educators then do the blame game. Oh, and then when the learner then goes to grade 8, first year of high school, it's like, what were you learning at the primary school level? So I think the entire country, especially in Gauteng, if you speak to the directors, the district directors or the facilitators that we have meetings with, and it's the year of the GET. So that's positive.
Do you were talking about how cold it is in the morning. While researching this topic, in other countries, they don't encourage winter schools. They were talking about the flu virus. They were talking about how the cold can impact the health. And I was like, look at this. For a moment, I thought I was reading up on COVID, but lots of countries, they just close during the winter period. And it is kind of cold. Not cold, very cold in Johannesburg. Veronika,
yes, I studied there for a while, for many years. So I know the weather there. I was in Heidelberg for many years as well. It's very, very, very cold. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
No, I just think our Durbanites, when we hit a bit of a cold weather, we look like polar bears when we dress up, And so, yes, sorry, but we do.
True.
We have to wear socks with our slops there now.
I was actually enjoying playing paddle the other evening with shorts and a t-shirt on.
Yes, no, it's lovely. Yeah, no, it's very nice.
So Veronika, so you and other educators are at school.
I wasn't there last week. We decided to home in on our department. One of my colleagues went to Bali, very blessed. He went to Bali. So we decided as a department to do it next week. So next week we are getting together. I want to just make a statement here. And I've fought quite hard on this topic in this last term. And it's still something that I stand by very strongly. And that is that I have a huge issue with the department. I'm in a technology school. We do technology. So our grade 10s, 11s, and 12s are forever somewhere along the line writing technology, which is, by the way, an engineering subject in grade 10 and 11. It's not the baby technology that you have in grade 4, 5, and 6, and that it isn't just building with matchsticks. It's intense. It is basically first year varsity work. It's highly intensive. And what happens is that our learners have to write exams with maths or science on the same day. So they come in, they write a 3-hour maths paper in the morning or science. And then a little while later, then they've got to write a 3-hour technology paper. So it is it makes me cringe that I now have to also go and work so hard in the holidays because the kids have gone and focused on the maths or on the science. And said, well, the one that matters the most is basically the science because of its reputation.
That's it. It's been going on for years.
The life out of me. I fight this. I am so cross. My poor headmaster knows about this, and even my subject advisors and many more know about this. And it's something that I blame the people in examinations that they don't consider this
Planning.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to say this, and my head's going to roll, and this is just how I feel.
In school matters, we say it the way it is.
It is, and I firmly believe, and a statement that I made not so long ago was that we all want to now have KZN first in the country. We're all pushing. Last year we were second, and now, we got through all of it. We have to work hard. No issue working hard. But why put the pressure on the learners when it's so intense? The learners don't cope with it, and by matrics, half of many of these learners now realize that they should never have taken whatever technology subject it is that they have been there. In my research, when I was doing my qualifications on that, half of them are doing it because their parents have pushed them into the subjects or into the school. And then they realize they don't want to do it. So they focus on the science rather than the technology. Now you've got to come in and you've got to work so hard to get those stragglers and the ones that have just given up on the subject already in the first term. Now you've got to try and drag them through the June exams. Trials is around the corner. We still have a whole section to do.
When trials start?
I'm not 100% sure, but the pressure of the third term is immense because all the moderations start. The learners are under pressure to finalize whatever pats they are doing, whatever.
So you don't even count the fourth term. It doesn't exist for learning.
Well, not the fourth term. There's, I think, a week or two, and then they go. Then it's the farewells and happy, and some matric dances here and there, and so the third term is it's like building up for me. I found in the bit is that you are building up. And I think this is where the winter school comes in. Yeah. So you've got to take this poor little soul who's now given up on a subject, whether it's science or whatever it is. And you've got to now drag them through a week of a couple of hours lessons and motivate them to do well. So the pressure on educators is
exactly.
immense.
And, I know colleagues, educator friends, they feel like they're writing the matric grade 12. And when their learners don't perform, department, I know of educators who actually had nervous breakdowns.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the learners are just not performing. I know of regular guests to come on our show, School Matters. Sumaya, we are taking early retirement. We are resigning
over this now.
Because I am principal, I am deputy principal, I'm management.
Educator, whatever.
Exactly. I can't face the flack with department. Department don't see it, that these learners are not competent and capable and not interested. So I know quite a few educators who actually left.
No, absolutely. The pressure on educators, never mind, it goes both ways. It goes educator, it goes learner. The pressure on both of these two participants in exams is huge and immense, and learners. And that's why quite often, and I don't want to say that you have fatalities, with learners and these huge crises sometimes where learners just don't cope, or parents don't cope, or teachers don't cope, and then you get called in as an educator, and why are your marks looking like they are? Meantime, you are bending over backwards, you are doing everything, but how do you prove it?
Well, if you think about it, while you're teaching for very long, we all of us see, if you combine all the years, decades, everything now is more admin, paper orientated, moving away from really teaching that learner, but it's more admin.
Correct. So that's one of the gripes that I have, even in with the GDE, is that you got come to the end of term 2, we just passed through it now. I got to submit QMS. That's appraisals for all educators. I had that whole portfolio there to submit, and it's a lot of paperwork, considering we're quite a large staff. And then what about your normal submissions with regards to district, with that whole file, etc., going and then justifying why learner X didn't make it in term 2, and were the learners at risk there, and how did you support and how did you intervene, and there's a lot of paperwork. So on top of that, remember, you still got staff that are doing a bit of revision. So this is now more primary school orientated, this viewpoint. And while revision is taking place, you remember so it's, although it's controlled test, the unfortunate thing is, that's why I say it depends on the area you are, where's your school located. I'm just saying that because if you in affluent area compared to a more rural area, or at times maybe it's an underprivileged area, for example, then what really did you achieve with the learners? How did you intervene? Now, when we say intervene, they want your interventions, the strategies, it has to be quite structured. So they want you basically to justify. And when all of this is going on, the learner's writing exams. Then you're getting remember, with the whole assessment moderation plan that's forecasted with your pre and post moderation, and on which dates are your educators capturing marks, verification, and it's quite taxing. On top of that, don't forget your normal monthly or weekly stats and admin and meetings that you are showing up for. That's also quite important. Even before this entire period before the testing period. But although we say controlled test, so some schools go about it on two ways. It's look, your staff has to buy in, but some of them say, listen, it's a controlled test. We would like to administer it under controlled test conditions. It's not an examination. So we're very anti that. Some staff members are very pro. So we do a bit of both. I like there to be controlled tests. Remember now, even with the grade 7s being in the senior phase, the grade 7s, I was in a meeting was it 3 weeks before we closed, or 4 weeks before we closed, a month, yeah. And we were told, no. Normally we know grade 7s, we call it an examination. It'll be on the test scripts, but they also want to call it a control test, although they fall under the senior phase. Yeah. So the thing is, there has to be structure. If there's no structure, then it's not effectively implemented. Hence, what I was mentioning earlier with regards to the winter or the study camps, there has to be structure. It's not just, class of 2024, I'm the maths educator. We're just going to show up, and what do you feel like we're going to do today? What are your weaknesses and your strengths? It doesn't work like that, because at the end of the day, it's not effective enough. And then that's for me personally, structure is very important, but in the same breath, there needs to be a balance.
Yeah. Do you know, in primary school level, senior prime, you're not allowed to fail learners. You know the story. Once in a phase, for age, they get passed. If a learner can't read, all of that, educators practically fight with management. So why do we write control tests when we have to pass all these learners? And then we have the high school educators, Veronika, you guys. There's a child, grade 8, grade 9, can't read, can't comprehend, can't write. Which primary school they came for? What is the primary school doing? But again, if you go back, I'm saying this on air, it goes back to Angie Musheke when she mentioned, everyone must pass and reading. So a lot of educational analysis tells you they kind of phased away with that there, the reading. But now, all of a sudden, when they discovered South Africa rates the lowest, learners can't read. So all of a sudden now, we must do reading programs, reading schemes, and what's your intervention at government school levels, so
and add that to the normal curriculum.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's additional to the curriculum. We are now some schools. I don't know in Gauteng. I'm sure with you guys as well. There's a GEC now that's coming through, where we are doing booklets now, extra curriculum. That has to be done. We are a testing school, so you've still got to do your normal curriculum, finish that curriculum, and you still have to do this additional work. So it's sort of in line, but it's still double work. And when we discussed it with some of the staff members and trying to get them to buy into that, many of them actually were saying, but that's not linked to my QMS. It is not linked to extra salary because it's extra work.
You can't call yourself so high. I have colleagues who laugh at me. They tell me, Sumaya,
you're not allowed to give yourself 3 and 4s.
They tell me this. You're an education activist. For 18 years, you produce and present a show called School Matters. You have seminars, workshops, not only in a community, but for the Department of Education, for the Mlazi district, for the province. You do so much, but I have to score myself like
2s.
And 3 for that
4s,
day.
Yeah.
So you reach a point where you don't challenge, you don't fight, you just fill it in. Again, as you said, doesn't make a difference.
So I'm on the other end of the stick. And I, like when I go in for appraisals with educators, and I so you have your pre-meeting and obviously your post-meeting when you're done. But I think there's a flip side to it, because I understand exactly where the educator is coming, but then all educators aren't the same.
Yeah.
Because if I'm that educator that's constantly, example, late to class, or I'm struggling to keep up with the ATP, with the annual teaching plan, and I'm struggling here and there, I'm hardly going for any meetings that's prescribed by DBE and the GDE, for example. And, I'm not involved in a lot of aspects in the school. How can then I get a 4?
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
So when I do score an educator a 4? Remember, there's a lot of write-up for me to justify why that educator in that maybe criteria or performance standard received the 4. So, whereas 2 is basically it's satisfied, and 3 is you're good, and 4 is you're excellent.
Yeah.
So in my school, for example, we do justice to the process, but at the same time, even myself, I'm not going to get all 4s.
Yeah.
Because we are not involved in every single aspect. But where we are involved with, I justifiably score that educator 4, which is the right thing to do. And I always tell educators, for example, if educator A received overall percentage of say 82, and educator B received 60. Remember, 50% is the bare minimum you need to qualify for that increment. And listeners out there, that increment isn't a wow increment at all.
No, not at all.
And I think it's
Every educator needs a side hustle.
So whether it's that 1.5%, etc. But I mean, it's something that's good because it falls.
For a petrol tank.
I don't even think with regards to the taxes afterwards. Everyone.
Tuck shop money. Run for your tuck shop money.
All the
No, I
civil
don't do the
servants.
tuck shop.
So there's just a bit of feedback and input from the whole appraisal side of it.
Yeah.
But Veronika, you just mentioned with regards to not being there's no compensation with regards to extra classes. I'm not sure how the different schools go about their business. Maybe there's an remuneration.
Very little.
Depends on the school size.
Remember,
etc.
you've got to be able to work a certain amount of hours as well. So, and you've got to do that. You've got to work your 8 hours it is, and then thereafter. But I think at this time of time, there's things that are really like, now I know for a fact there are, because we're not, many educators come from very far. There are educators that are using that bit of remuneration that they are getting
for fuel.
So it's a parents, you need to please understand this. Education is a labor of love.
Yeah. You steal things from the house and take it to
There's no
school.
quick getting rich, and there's no this. And when you guys give us a hard time, it makes it even more stressful.
Well, listeners, we'll be taking a short ad break and we will continue.
You're listening to School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
Education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an opened one.
Join Sumaya Khan every Tuesdays between 7 and 8 p.m. for an educational evening exclusive to Radio Al Ansar.
Your education is a dress rehearsal for a life that is yours to lead.
School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
Still the whole world could.
At this time of trial and worry, the blessings of charity are the ideal means to avoid calamity and despair. The Al Imdad Foundation gives you the opportunity to sponsor a share in a borehole in South Africa for just 1,000 Rand and provide what the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, called the best form of charity. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport.
Kenfield Auto. Mere Nabi pyare Nabi sunnat teri duniya di.
Sunnah a day. Always keep a smiling face.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto.
Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto. This hadith is brought to you by Continental Butcher Baker Delhi. Quality, freshness, and value. Our promise to you since 1992.
Hadith a day. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم التائب من الذنب كمن لا ذنب له. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one who repents from a sin is like one who has not committed a sin. This refers to one who repents sincerely. The similarity between the two people is in terms of accountability. Just as the person who did not commit any wrong does not have to give account, the one who has repented will no longer have to give account for the wrong that he has committed.
If you're looking for a delicious selection of freshly made baked goods, decadent deli treats, and succulent meats, there's no need to chop around anymore. Continental Butcher Baker Deli offers an award-winning service presenting exceptional quality at competitive prices. Superb choice grade lamb, beef, and chicken, mouth-watering homemade processed meats and gourmet marinades, and scrumptious baked goodies, quality, freshness, and a money-back guarantee. Continental Butcher Baker Deli in Argyle Road. Visit continentaldeli.co.za.
Call 031-208-0951. Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio-visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031-306-4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Transform your winter with Fit Deli's brand new menu. We've got warm and satisfying tandoori chicken bowls, refreshing blueberry and pineapple smoothies, plus delicious grilled king clip and more. Fit Deli, healthy gourmet prepared meals made freshly for your convenience. Dive into a world of fresh, nutritious delights. Guilt-free snacks and vibrant produce await. Visit us at Greenpoint in Cape Town, the Pavilion Shopping Centre in Durban, or our Kawi Road store in Durban. Fit Deli, where good taste meets good health. Elevate your health journey today and live happy.
You're listening to School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to School Matters. Yes, with me, Sumaya Khan. And I know it's school holiday, but School Matters on Radio Al-Ansar still continues, everlasting, educating and uplifting. Our guest in studio is Ebrahim Khan, a deputy principal at Fordsburg Primary, and a veteran educator, Veronika Slabbert of George Campbell. We are just venting views and opinions about the matric winter schools, how the system is working, DOE, education. You touched on SASAMs.
Yeah. So,
explain to our listeners what is SASAMs, those who are not
So basically,
educators.
the SASAMs are, how can I say this? The software. It's where the educators basically, after they administer their assessments, then they capture it on the system. It's like a modified spreadsheet, if you think about it, or you can imagine that. So remember, the marks are prescribed. So for example, if there's an oral aspect in languages, or there's a reading text, for example, then the marks are prescribed on the top, and the teacher, then the educator will capture them on that according to the learners' names, etc. And what happens is there's also different weightings. So if you look at that 100%, you might get a higher weighting in certain aspects. If there's, example, 7 assessments in your languages, say in your English and in Afrikaans, for example. So the weighting on a particular assessment task might be that much more higher compared to another assessment task that was administered. So the thing is, what I found in term 2 is that, for example, say there was the assessment task, say the first 2, the weighting, which was quite higher, but the learner then did poorly or did badly. And the learner then had a terrific mark in the remaining 3 or 4. But that learner now, say out of 20, for example, the learner had, the minimum is 8. So the learner had 11 or 10, for example. Say 10, that's 50% for that assessment task. And then the learner did very well in the learner got 9 out of, say, 14 out of 15, and 8 out of 10, and then 70 or say 19 out of 20. But those assessments, the weighting for your combined percentage isn't the same as the first two that the learner did poorly. So it did play quite a huge role, because remember, this comes into play especially when you get those borderline cases, taking consideration that the languages with English, you need 50% to pass English, right? And we know you can get, and I tell learners all the time, and I tell even staff members, just reiterate it to learners so they understand, even at a primary school level. I can get 100% in maths. As Veronika mentioned, it's maths and science and maths and science. But after getting 100% in all my subjects, woohoo, I'm so excited, but I haven't passed English, for example.
Yeah, and that happens.
I failed. I have failed because I haven't met the requirement for that particular subject. So, and going further back to what we discussed, I just want to bring in one aspect. What's the new thing as well this year with the GDE is that those facilitators that come in, departmental heads and DPs are on their toes when the facilitators come into the school, checking files, and there's, all the necessary monitoring tools were completed with regards to book checks and curriculum coverages, etc. They also call in a learner. Yeah. So when that learner comes in, it's a reading and understanding skill. And that's part of their portfolio for the school, because that also would combine with the school mark for that particular grade in that particular subject determines, is your school now underperforming? And if it's underperforming, then we need to come in, we need to assist. And some educators will say it's development, but at times it's just basically we need to help you to improve because you need to now be passing. And you do get, like every workplace or work environment, there'll always be personality and politics, personality clashes. That's why I think as management of a school, it's like super important that a happy staff, it's less absenteeism. You got your staff performing at an optimum. You got teaching and learning taking place effectively. And then when you have that, I like you and I don't like you from a management level, then that can create
and then you recruit a whole lot of
animosity.
teachers to hate that person because I'm management.
No, so management, and I see this, I thought for, 4 years in KZN? Like almost 4 years before teaching in Gauteng. So I think I'm teaching for like 18 years. So what I did pick up is that at times, those leaders of those institutions, those schools, those principals, those DPs, or those management members can be very petty, depends on their personality. But when you're in that position,
you can't be
cannot
it's not good leadership.
That's weak leadership. And then you're going to have, a topsy-turvy kind of staff where you want to implement something, or say the KZN DOE wants to implement something and it's cascaded from the top to the bottom, and you went for that meeting as management and you have a staff meeting and, at staff, this is what we need to do because this is what's required now and something new. And when it's always something new, we don't like it because we're stuck in our old ways that, we did it for 30 years and 25 years and why the change? So it's all about the buy-in. So just a shout out to those management members for schools in the country. Your job is very hectic, I understand, but you got to be constructive and you got to be approachable.
That's it.
Fair.
Exactly.
Fair,
but
100%.
You know what? When you think about a leader, it's not coming to overwhelm yourself. You need to assist, help. That's your job description according to the PAM document.
Sister Sumaya, I just want to say, when a staff member comes to me with a problem, I learned many things over the years from the different principals and district officials, and I always sit down with them and I tell them I have it's an open door policy, unless I'm in a very important meeting, but more or less it's an open door policy. But I tell them, when you come with a problem, come with a solution.
Yeah.
So you come with a problem, but give me a solution. Don't give me an excuse.
Yeah.
Because from your GA staff at a school, your ground staff, right to your educator staff, you're always going to get that the reason why I couldn't do this and that's not done and this not done and it's somewhat maybe the management to be blamed. Yes, in certain instances it could be management to be blamed. But what have you done as an individual, as also a proxy of the KZN DOE or the GDE? So that's why I say, getting all staff members on board, because you want to have that pleasant a staff room, and we have morning briefings every single morning, besides a Friday and a Tuesday. And what I love about that is that I curbed this helps to curb basically a late coming from staff members. And what's very important is that you don't want to make a million announcements during teaching and learning time, because that just interrupts, and it also can irritate and frustrate educators who are teaching, and there comes that boop and there's an announcement. So in that morning session, the principal at the school or the deputy, the management members take turns, and we have a short motivational quote or a story, a very short, brief one. And then we also do the announcements for the day. Today it's, don't forget, it's a drop all and read, or maybe there's, for example, towards the latter end of the term, we'll be form-based, those vital, important messages that we send
again,
across.
as you mentioned, it's your approach. I mean, you can't be mean and nasty to this educator because you just don't like them. Just don't like them because maybe they wear a lot of perfume or something like that. And then you just, shun them one side. And adults, not all adults suck up to
think about it this way, right? Here comes Veronika, who's 150% passionate about what she does, and she wants to help the learner. And for example, say I'm the principal at the institution of the school that she's at George Campbell. I think it's a technical school, if I'm not mistaken. And I come in with negative vibes, and I'm borderline shouting. Then think about it, even in a normal work environment, colleagues, it's what will Veronika do? She's going to say, you know what, I'll make it more difficult for you. I'm not going to assist you where I can, or help you. It's going to put you in a place where you don't want to be involved with school matters.
I think
100%. You nailed it.
That's it.
So you want to be encouraging,
you're completely correct there.
because everyone needs to stay on their
But
lane.
again, if you're a good leader, even if I don't like an educator, this educator is so good in tech. This educator is so good. She's connected with fundraising. Use them for my school, our school, to grow, not hush them one side. And this is where leaders fail when you think about it, in that way.
Yeah, it's the one thing I always say is that I do believe, and this is one of the fundamental things I learned from one of our retired principals, transparency. Super important. Even if there's 1,000 Rand that's being used and the SGB authorized it, I don't have to cascade that information to the staff. But let me do it so everyone knows. If they see, for example, a plumber or someone doing signage at the school, they also know that I've seen people that are not part of the school.
So when are you going to start holding your classes for management? The WhatsApp screen is going wild here. The valid points from the educator, the principal from Fordsburg Primary. Going to self-discipline, a quick one. How, it's not easy to motivate a teacher who has no support from management. Sometimes you have that educator who is disciplinarian, sorts out all the learners in the grade, but she looks from management like she's the problem because she's always sending learners down to the office. Veronika is nodding. I'll also nod too for that there. And then you told the learners are afraid of you. And then you say, okay, that's a problem. I'll step back. And then, there's chaos. There's this chaos. So how do we instill self-discipline in our learners, knowing that what they come to school for? And also as management, how do we motivate and support our educators?
I'm going to answer that one. I'm going to do that one. I have a very straightforward talk with my learners in the beginning of the year. And I make it very clear to the matrics that I will drag them through matric, kicking and screaming, shouting, boxing me, whatever. But they will pass matric on my standards. And there's huge fights sometimes. The kids hate me, as you say. Sometimes the management walk in and parents could have laid complaints. But in the end of the day, I think that's where they see, that there's interest. I'm showing interest in them. I want them to do well. And that's a reputation that I always say to my learners. I'm here. I could have gotten a job anywhere else.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, earned 2-3 times my salary. I love education. I thoroughly enjoy working with kids. And I have your best interest in heart.
Do you know, not all educators,
and that's what they have to
not
understand.
all educators tend to be peacock by management. See what I did and see how I'm
Yeah, I
teaching.
don't, and for me, that's not what it's about.
But we have educators who do that. I
Yeah,
think in any
I couldn't
work
be
environment.
bothered. Yeah.
So from what I hear with Veronika, she's one of those dying breeds, unfortunately, in the education. No, that's reality.
Yeah.
And when I see certain educators and who have like 3 decades of experience, and those are the teachers that unfortunately we're losing, with retirement. Some of them aren't even taking early retirement. And the thing is that we're left with a lot, I'm a young staff member as well. But I think it's unfortunate that not everyone has that same approach for the best interests, not of the school, but of the learner. Because the learners make the school. It's not the other way around. The school makes the learners. So that's quite important. And it's an unfortunate situation, but it's I think with you dealing with the FET phases, the high school, they're much more mature. I mean, compared to a grade 3 learner, I'm hoping.
I think discipline, coming from high school and primary school, I think the primary school you can control.
You see, the thing is,
it's easier to control the primary
it
school.
depends, things that we did in standard 5, grade 7. It's not that same, if there's naughtiness, it's not that innocence, where behind the scene, even the teacher behind, under their breath will have a bit of a grin, it's something innocent. You do get extreme cases, and
your high school, you have to deal now with the absenteeism.
Rounding up, what advice you have as management to other management members listening right now and leaders out there in the school situation?
I think a happy staff, once again, your teaching and learning, your absenteeism from a staff perspective, it's all in order. I think your approach, and I always tell, I came from corporate once upon a time, right? And I always say, how do you, if someone approaches you, how do you, cater for them? Can I say that? Cater for them.
Yeah.
And when I think as management members, let's sit down together, but in a civil manner and say, you know what, this is the problem. What do you think the solution would be? How can we come up with a solution? Because it's always this problem. But once again, from a management side, unfortunately you can't please everyone as well. But that's where you as a strong leader sticks to the bylaws and sticks to the ethos and everything prescribed by the DBE.
Yeah. Veronika, advice or some motivation to our matric educators, not the learners, our educators.
Just fast bait. It's now the serious work starts, the 3rd term and then the 4th term, and you run past the hall to see if your kids are actually answering the questions in the WhatsApp and not sitting there and sleeping or something. Just fast bait this is now the last round. Go to give it your all to the learners. Just give it your all.
Well, I'd like to thank both you guys, for taking the time to be here during the holidays on School Matters, and all the best for the 3rd term. My email address is sumayakhan.alansar@outlook.com. I also like to thank our tech, Zach, for making this show possible. Self-respect is the fruit of self-discipline. The sense of dignity, grows within the ability to say no to oneself. For a man to conquer himself is the first and not least of all victories. What lies in our power to do lies in our provider not to do. Assalamu alaikum.
This hadith is sponsored by Ashraful Aid, International Humanitarian Organization.
Hadith a day. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سخط الرب في سخط الوالد Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is angry with a person whose father is angry with him. It is compulsory to obey your father in whatever he commands you to do. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there are 3 rights of a father. Do not call him by his name, do not walk in front of him, and do not sit before he sits.
This hadith is sponsored by Ashraful Aid, International Humanitarian Organization.
Are you looking for a meaningful way to fulfill your zakat obligation? Look no further than Ashraful Aid. With our trusted track record, your zakat reaches those who need it the most in the most honorable and dignified manner. Visit our website at www.ashrafulaid.org.
The views and opinions expressed by the presenters and guests of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News. An informative Islamic